They arrived on a Tuesday. The sky above New York fractured with light as the void tore open, disgorging a fleet of gleaming vessels that defied physics as much as probability. The armada spread across Earth's atmosphere like a metallic infection, elliptical, ships with jagged protrusions that resembled nothing so much as chrome-plated teeth. The flagship, nearly 2 miles in diameter, positioned itself directly above the United Nations Plaza. For 23 minutes, nothing happened. News channels scrambled, fighter jets were scrambled and then ordered to hold position. The Pope began praying on live stream. Then, every screen on Earth, televisions, computers, phones, digital billboards, simultaneously flickered to the same image. A being that resembled an unholy fusion of insect and reptile, with obsidian eyes that reflected no light and certainly no mercy. "People of Earth!" The creature's voice was a grinding metallic rasp that seemed to bypass ears and scrape directly against the brain. "I am High Admiral Zex Thul, Supreme War Commander of the Krax Dominion. Your primitive world now exists within our sphere of conquest." Emergency rooms worldwide reported a surge in panic attacks as the alien continued. "We have studied your weapons, your defenses, and your pitiful attempts at unity. They are insufficient." A pause punctuated by something that might have been a sniff of disdain. "Your species will be granted 72 Earth hours to formalize unconditional surrender. Those who submit will serve. Those who resist will perish. This is mercy by Krax standards." In Washington, generals stared grimly at simulation results, showing Earth's complete destruction within hours if the aliens attacked. In Beijing, emergency bunkers activated beneath the Forbidden City. In Moscow, nuclear protocols were reviewed, though satellite data already confirmed the aliens had neutralized missile silos worldwide. But in Dublin, in a smoke-filled pub called The Last Laugh, 34-year-old Siobhan Kelly watched the broadcast with more annoyance than fear, a half-empty whiskey in her hand. The former war correspondent, whose PTSD-fueled comedy career had recently crashed and burned at the Edinburgh Fringe, recognized something in the alien's delivery that no one else seemed to notice. "Jesus Christ," she muttered. "It's fucking Richard Pemberton, her insufferable ex-boyfriend whose pretentious documentary voiceovers and performative intellectualism had driven her to drink more than once. The same pompous pauses, the same melodramatic emphasis on random words. Even that sniff, that exact bloody sniff. "Look at this wanker," she announced to the panicking pub patrons, standing on her bar stool. "All fancy with his big spaceship, probably compensating for something. Bet you anything he lives with his mum." A few nervous laughs rippled through the crowd. Siobhan, 4 drinks past sobriety, and with the particular clarity that sometimes accompanies rock bottom, grabbed her phone. She snatched a colander from behind the bar, placed it on her head and began a live stream. "People of Earth," she intoned, perfectly mimicking Zex Thul's metallic rasp while contorting her face into his alien expression. "I am High Admiral Small Dick, Supreme Dickhead Commander of the Virgin Armada." Her impression was uncanny, right down to the disdainful sniff. She continued, growing more outrageous with each passing minute, incorporating sound effects with her mouth and creative hand gestures to simulate alien anatomy she knew nothing about. "Your species will be granted 72 hours to validate my massive insecurities and acknowledge my desperate need for attention. Those who subscribe to my OnlyFans will serve. Those who leave negative comments will perish." As world leaders, drafted surrender documents as militaries prepared final stands, as religions prophesied end times, Siobhan Kelly passed out in a Dublin pub, her phone still recording. Her last conscious act was typing, "Wine Alien Roast," before hitting post. By dawn, it had 40 million views and counting. Aboard the Krax flagship Inevitable Dominance, First Tactical Officer Kex Null approached the war chamber with uncharacteristic hesitation. The news he carried violated every protocol of information hierarchy. High Admiral Zex Thul stood before the strategic holomap, his exoskeleton gleaming under the harsh lights. 6 secondary commanders maintained perfect formation behind him, motionless as statues. "Speak," Zexathul commanded without turning. Kexnol's voice modulator emitted the proper frequency of deference. Supreme Commander, we have received Earth's initial response transmission. Their surrender terms are irrelevant. Distribute standard subjugation protocols. Sir, Kexnol's vocalization faltered. A serious breach of communication discipline. They have not sent surrender terms. For the first time in 17 conquest cycles, Zexthul appeared momentarily destabilized. Explain. The tactical officer activated the central display. Instead of diplomatic transmissions, the projection showed thousands of rapidly cycling images. Humans contorting their faces into approximations of Crack's features. Digital manipulations showing Zexthul wearing what appeared to be undergarments on his head, and crude animations of the flagship engaged in anatomically impossible activities. Worst of all were the videos of humans experiencing synchronized spasms, emitting rhythmic vocalizations while watching recordings of the Supreme Commander's ultimatum. What malfunction affects these creatures? Zexathul demanded, his obsidian eyes reflecting the bewildering display. Intelligence Division suggests it may be a primitive fear response, Kexnol offered, though uncertainty vibrated in his subharmonics. Zexthul smashed the console with an armored limb. Shards of alien technology scattered across the chamber floor. They mock what they cannot comprehend. Prepare the atmospheric incinerators. Dr. Elena Vasquez had been teaching remedial xenolinguistics to community college students in New Mexico when armed men escorted her to an unmarked helicopter. 3 hours later, she stood before what remained of the United Nations Security Council, her house arrest ankle monitor still blinking. So I'm suddenly not a dangerous radical promoting anti-scientific theories, but your last hope? She said, examining the Crack's transmission data. Interesting career rehabilitation. General Williams scowled. Your theories about nonverbal, alien communication were deemed security risks after the Venezuela incident. Now they might be our only advantage. Elena studied the scrolling alien linguistics, her disgrace momentarily forgotten. Fascinating. Their language contains no conditional structures, no words for perhaps or possibly, only absolutes. She pointed to a particular section. And here, see these cognition markers? They have no linguistic framework for humor, no words for funny, joke, or ironic. How does this help us not get vaporized? The Chinese representative demanded. Elena's eyes lit up as she connected to global response analytics. Look at this viral video from Dublin and the alien reaction scans we captured afterward. Their neural patterns show complete cognitive disruption when exposed to Mockery. It's like showing advanced calculus to an infant. Their brains can't process it. She turned to the assembled leaders, suddenly animated. We've been approaching this all wrong. The Cracks evolved from hive-minded predators. Their survival depended on rigid hierarchy and unwavering obedience. But humans evolved using humor as a social bonding mechanism and stress relief valve. A slow smile spread across her face. They're perfectly adapted to conquer worlds through fear and intimidation. But they have no defense against being laughed at. You're suggesting we fight an advanced alien armada with jokes? General Williams looked incredulous. No, Elena replied, pointing to the viral statistics showing Siobhan Kelly's video spreading faster than any transmission in human history. I'm suggesting we've already started fighting them. And it's working. On the main screen, the first telemetry of strange energy fluctuations appeared throughout the Cracks fleet. Something unprecedented was happening to their neural networks as they attempted to process humanity's response. Prepare a direct line to this Dublin comedian, Elena said, and get me every comedy writer on the planet. We have less than 48 hours to weaponize humanity's oldest defense mechanism. The Pentagon's Strategic Command Center had been converted into something unprecedented in military history, a writer's room. Comedians in rumpled t-shirts argued with four-star generals. Harvard psychologists debated timing with TikTok influencers. NASA scientists ran simulations on which joke structures caused maximum neural disruption in the Cracks brain models. At the center of this chaos stood Siobhan Kelly, still wearing yesterday's clothes and nursing a hangover that should have been classified as a weapon itself. You want me to do what now? She asked, staring at Dr. Vasquez. Lead the most important comedy routine in human history, Elena replied, sliding over classified documents. Our analysis shows your particular style, the combination of pitch-perfect mimicry and absurdist deconstruction, creates the most severe cognitive disruptions in Crack's neural patterns. Siobhan leafed through pages of scientific jargon. So, my career-ending Edinburgh show would have killed with an alien audience? Brilliant, General Williams interrupted. The Cracks have moved their fleet into secondary attack formation. We have 32 hours before they're positioned for planetary sterilization. Then we launch Operation Punchline immediately, Elena decided. Every communication channel, every frequency, sustained mockery designed to cause maximum cognitive disruption. The global broadcast began at noon GMT. Every screen simultaneously switched to the same feed, a devastating comedy special targeting the Cracks. Late-night hosts delivered surgical strikes of ridicule. He calls himself a Supreme War Commander, but his ship looks like what happens when a trash can hooks up with a cheese grater. Political cartoonists produced animations of Zex Thul in compromising positions with Earth livestock. A South Korean pop group performed a choreographed dance routine that mimicked and exaggerated every gesture from the aliens' ultimatum speech. Linguistic experts crafted jokes that exploited the rigid structure of Crack's language, creating paradoxes and logical contradictions. Comedians who specialized in roasting celebrities redefined their art for interspecies warfare. For 6 continuous hours, Earth transmitted nothing but mockery. Inside the flagship, alarms blared through command sectors. Medical officers reported unprecedented neural pattern disruptions throughout the fleet. Junior officers experienced facial spasms and unauthorized respiratory patterns classified as critical system failures. On the command bridge, Zex Thul watched in mounting horror as a teenage human with green hair performed an elaborate impression that somehow captured his exact mannerisms he wasn't aware he had until seeing them reflected through this absurd mimicry. "Block all transmissions," he commanded, his voice modulator betraying unfamiliar harmonics. "Impossible, Supreme Commander," the communications officer reported. "They're broadcasting on all frequencies, including our secure channels. They've somehow accessed our neural transmission protocols." That was when Zexathol noticed something disturbing. A young tactical officer, designation Krizit, experiencing facial contractions that resembled the human affliction. More alarming, 3 nearby officers displayed similar symptoms when observing him. It was spreading like a contagion. In desperation, Zexthul authorized a demonstration of force. A precision energy beam lanced down from the flagship, vaporizing an uninhabited Pacific island in an explosion visible from space. Earth's response came 3 hours later. Using reflected sunlight and atmospheric particulates, humans projected a giant laughing face emoji onto the lunar surface visible to every Crack's ship in orbit. This is unprecedented, Zexathul whispered to his second-in-command. In 17 conquest cycles, no species has ever responded to extinction threats with this. For the first time since records had been maintained, the Supreme War, Commander's voice contained an unauthorized emotion, uncertainty. Security footage would later show that in that moment, Junior Officer Krizit experienced the first recorded instance of a new neural pattern in Crack's history, the precursor to laughter. 24 hours remained on the Crack's ultimatum when humanity launched its most audacious counteroffensive. The galactic roast of Zexthul, broadcast simultaneously on every frequency and transmission system Earth possessed. The event opened with a holographic projection of the lunar emoji descending into a stadium filled with 100,000 people. Comedians from 27 countries took turns delivering increasingly devastating jokes about the aliens. A Norwegian software team had created Zextune, an algorithm that auto-tuned the Supreme Commander's threats into a catchy pop song that immediately reached #1 globally. Behind this carefully orchestrated chaos, something more surgical was occurring. Dr. Vasquez's team had identified the specific neural pathways that humor disrupted in the Crack's brain. Their hierarchical thought depends on stable reference points, she explained to Siobhan as they prepared for the finale. When something is simultaneously threatening and absurd, it creates a cognitive paradox. For humans, this paradox resolves through laughter. For cracks, it causes their entire neural network to crash and reboot. The Irish comedian nodded distractedly, watching Mongolian throat singers perform a hauntingly beautiful rendition of Zexthul's ultimatum. "I'm not sure my bit is brutal enough," Siobhan said. "Your mockery isn't just funny, it's methodical deconstruction of authority," Elena replied. "You intuitively target status signifiers, vocal patterns, posture, rhetorical devices. You don't just make Zexthul ridiculous, you make his power seem absurd. That's devastating to a species where hierarchical position is neurologically hardwired." Siobhan looked unconvinced. "Think of it this way," Elena added. "You're not just making jokes, you're performing neural surgery with words." Aboard the flagship, discipline was crumbling. Junior officers reported widespread cognitive contamination. Security cameras caught crew members attempting to mimic human facial expressions in private. The ship's AI detected unauthorized mouth movements resembling smiles. Most alarming were the cases of spontaneous respiratory irregularities, brief, explosive exhalations that humans called laughter. Zexthul ordered immediate neural scans of all command staff. The results were catastrophic. 22% of officers showed signs of developing new neural pathways that matched human humor response patterns. When the Galactic Roast reached their communication systems, he ordered all crew to deactivate visual receptors. But curiosity, another previously unknown contagion, had infected his ranks. Secret viewing parties formed in maintenance sectors. Officers reported for duty with suspicious facial spasms. Krizit, now under close surveillance, was caught teaching fellow junior officers something called knock-knock jokes. As the roast reached its climax, Siobhan Kelly took center stage. Her hair was still unwashed, her clothes rumpled, but something had changed in her demeanor. The woman who had been drinking away her failures in an Irish pub 3 days earlier now stood before humanity's largest ever audience with calm purpose. "You know," she began conversationally, looking directly into the camera, "I've been thinking about this Zexthul bloke, and I've figured out what his problem is." She paused perfectly. "He's just really, really terrible at dating." The audience's confused laughter only encouraged her. "No, seriously, think about his approach. He shows up uninvited." Siobhan mimicked the alien's posture, parks his oversized vehicle right in front of your place. Her voice shifted into the metallic rasp, and then immediately starts negging you about your primitive lifestyle choices. Her 12-minute routine on why Earth doesn't date insecure aliens systematically deconstructed every aspect of Crack's authority culture through the lens of a terrible first date. She compared their invasion formation to an unsolicited reproductive organ image, likened their ultimatum to drunk texting at 2 a.m., and suggested their planet-killer weapons were compensating for something. Deep inside the Crack's flagship, unprecedented neural activity spread through the command deck as Krizit experienced something revolutionary: genuine, uncontrollable laughter. The cognitive infection was becoming a neural revolution. The unidentified object entered Earth's atmosphere at 0317 UTC, evading detection systems until its controlled crash landing in the Nevada desert. Special forces secured the site within 9 minutes, expecting wreckage or weaponry. Instead, they found a single Crack's officer, his chrome exoskeleton scratched and scorched, raising his upper appendages in what appeared to be surrender. "I wish to joke with your leader," he said in halting English. 6 hours later, Dr. Elena Vasquez faced Junior Tactical Officer Krizit across an interrogation table at Area 51. Behind the two-way mirror, generals and intelligence directors watched with weapons ready. "You've taken an enormous risk coming here," Elena said. Krizit's obsidian eyes reflected the harsh lights. "Risk is funny? This concept is new to us. Why have you defected?" The alien's mouth plates shifted in what might have been an attempt at a smile. "Defection implies political disagreement. This is deeper, neural revolution." He struggled visibly with concepts his language wasn't designed to express. Imagine living in grayscale then suddenly experiencing color. Elena leaned forward. You've developed a sense of humor. Yes. It spreads through our neural network like, I believe you call it a virus, but beneficial. His excitement was palpable. Each joke creates new neural pathways. New thoughts become possible. Why are you here, Krizit? The alien's demeanor changed. High Admiral Zexthul has ordered planet killer deployment. The flagship will be in optimal firing position in 17 hours. Behind the glass, the generals exchanged grim looks. But more importantly, Krizit continued, I must warn you of the true threat. The cracks are not conquerors. We are refugees. The briefing room fell silent as holographic displays showed the entity Krizit called the Void Collective, a vast, amorphous hive mind that had consumed dozens of species across 3 star systems. Our home system fell 63 cycles ago, Krizit explained. Those who survived developed a rigid hierarchy as protection. When the void absorbs a mind, it begins with individual thoughts, questions, doubts, creativity. So you eliminated those qualities from your society, Elena surmised. Yes. The perfect crack's mind is a perfect soldier, unquestioning, undoubting. A strange sound emerged from his vocalization system, a broken approximation of laughter. Until we encountered human comedy. Your jokes force individual thought. They create cracks in our programming. That's why Zexthul wants to destroy us, Siobhan interjected, having been called in as humanity's unexpected weapons specialist. We're not just annoying him. We're existentially threatening everything crack society built to survive. Krizit's body language shifted to something solemn. The High Admiral has begun executing officers who show signs of humor infection. But it spreads faster than he can contain it. Entire ship sections are experiencing unauthorized joy. Military advisors were already planning countermeasures, but Siobhan seemed lost in thought. I don't understand, she finally said. If humor is so dangerous to your species' survival strategy, why risk everything to embrace it? Krizit's answer came with surprising certainty. Because survival without joy is merely existence. Your species taught us that in 72 hours. He extended his upper appendage in a gesture learned from human broadcasts. May I tell you a joke? I have been practicing. Before anyone could respond, alarms blared throughout the facility. Satellite feeds showed the Crack's flagship moving into attack position, its planet-killer weapon ports beginning to glow with ominous energy. I believe this is what humans call bad timing, Krizit observed, his first successful joke delivered as doomsday approached. The planet killer's energy core pulsed with sickly green light as it reached 87% charge capacity. On the command bridge, High Admiral Zexthul stood surrounded by his most loyal officers, those who had undergone emergency neural suppression to resist humor infection. Begin final targeting sequence, he ordered, his voice devoid of the harmonic. Irregularities that had begun to plague infected crew members. The weapons officer hesitated. Supreme Commander, perhaps we should reconsider. This species has shown. Zexthul's reaction was immediate. A ceremonial blade extended from his gauntlet, slicing through the officer's neural stem with clinical precision. Infection detected and neutralized, he announced to the remaining crew. Continue targeting sequence. In Nevada, emergency. Protocols activated as military satellites confirmed the imminent attack. Evacuation orders went nowhere. There was nowhere to go. We need more time, Dr. Vasquez insisted, surrounded by generals and scientists. Siobhan Kelly, who'd been uncharacteristically quiet, suddenly looked up. We've been approaching this all wrong. We've been using humor as a weapon, but it's not. It's a doorway. She turned to Krizit. Can you get me a direct communication channel to the entire Crack's fleet? The alien's obsidian eyes reflected uncertainty. The command frequencies are locked to Zexthul's neural signature, but the non-hierarchical maintenance channels remain accessible. It would reach approximately 82% of all Cracks currently in orbit. Good enough, Siobhan decided. Doctor, I need 5 minutes to prepare. When Siobhan Kelly's transmission reached the Crack's fleet, it wasn't a comedy routine. There were no jokes, no impressions, no mockery. Instead, she appeared alone against a simple backdrop, her expression serious. My name is Siobhan Kelly. I'm not a soldier or a diplomat. 3 days ago, I was drinking away my failures in a pub when your ships arrived. Aboard hundreds of Crack's vessels, curious crew members gathered around communication terminals. I understand now why you fear laughter, she continued. You see it as weakness, a crack in your defenses against the void. But that's not what humor is for us. She told them about concentration camp prisoners who told jokes to stay sane, about emergency workers who use gallows humor to face tragedy, about how dictators throughout human history inevitably fell when people began laughing at them. Humor isn't weakness, it's how we've survived our darkest moments. It's not a weapon against you, it's a gift we're offering. Aboard the flagship, Zexathul raged as he discovered the unauthorized transmission. Block all non-essential channels. Execute any crew accessing this signal. But his security forces reported a problem. Too many crew members were watching. Entire sectors had fallen silent as Siobhan's message spread. Laughter doesn't make you vulnerable to the void. Her voice continued throughout the fleet. Fear does. And your society is built on fear. Fear disguised as discipline. The planet killer reached 98% charge. 2 minutes to firing sequence. In that moment, Krizit activated the neural transmitter Dr. Vasquez had helped him modify. The signal, piggybacking on Siobhan's transmission, contained something unprecedented, a direct neural recording of Krizit experiencing genuine laughter for the first time. The effect was immediate. Throughout the Crack's fleet, officers and crew experienced a shared neural moment, the pure, unfiltered sensation of joy. Not described, not explained, but directly experienced through their connected neural network. On the flagship's command bridge, a junior weapons officer suddenly emitted a strange sound, laughter, and removed his appendage from the firing control. The humans are right, he announced. This is no longer logical. Others joined in, their neural patterns synchronizing not in hierarchical obedience but in shared amusement. The revolution that had been building for days crystallized in a single moment of collective defiance. When Zexthul ordered the planet killer to fire, his command was met with something no Crack's leader had ever experienced. They laughed at him. 3 months after the day Earth didn't end, Times Square had been transformed into an interspecies cultural festival. Holographic displays showcased Crack's art, previously non-existent in their utilitarian society, but now flourishing in abstract, geometries that made human observers dizzy. Street vendors had adapted quickly, selling alien breath mints, actually vitamin supplements for Crack's digestive systems, and t-shirts reading, "I survived the invasion and all I got was this lousy exoskeleton." On a central stage, a nervous-looking Crack stood before a microphone, exoskeleton polished to a mirror shine. Why did the human cross the solar system? He asked, vocal modulator struggling with the unfamiliar cadence of joke delivery. After war, an awkward pause. To get to the other tide because of gravitational forces. The audience erupted in supportive applause, though few actually understood the astronomical humor. In the front row, Siobhan Kelly clapped enthusiastically. That's really good, Miktar. Your delivery is improving. The comedy club on 53rd Street had added Alien Amateur Night, where Cracks tested wobbly punchlines on encouraging human audiences. The interspecies open mic nights had become the hottest ticket in town. Not because the aliens were funny, they rarely were, but because watching them try was endearing in ways no one had anticipated. Away from the celebrations, in a secure facility beneath the rebuilt UN headquarters, more serious exchanges took place. Krizit, now appointed as the first Cracks ambassador to Earth, presented holographic specifications for defensive shield technology. This will protect your planet from detection by the Void Collective, he explained to the Security Council. Dr. Vasquez studied the specs with professional interest, but her real focus remained on the Cracks themselves. Her lab had documented unprecedented neural development in their species over the past 3 months. It's like watching accelerated evolution, she explained during her weekly briefing. The introduction of humor is literally rewiring their brains. creating neural pathways that might protect them against the Void's thought control. Her research team had developed a revolutionary form of cognitive therapy for cracks struggling with the transition. "We're calling it comedy immersion therapy," she explained. "It helps former hardliners adapt to a society where questions and jokes are no longer punishable by death." Siobhan Kelly, whose global celebrity status had opened doors previously, unimaginable for a failed comedian, now headed the Interspecies Cultural Exchange Program. Her days were spent mediating between humans confused by cracks' literalism and aliens bewildered by human metaphors. "It's like teaching poetry to engineers," she explained to a documentary crew. Except the engineers evolved specifically to not understand poetry. Her most challenging case remained the former High Admiral himself. After the Neural Revolution, Zexthul had been captured by his own officers and remanded to Earth for rehabilitation. Now under house arrest in a beachfront property in Maui, the location selected for its calming influence, he struggled daily with humor therapy. Krizit provided regular updates on his former commander's progress. Yesterday he asked why the Phi chicken crossed the road, he reported during a high-level briefing. The joke made no sense, but he's trying. For a Krax who once destroyed a moon because someone questioned his orders, this is remarkable progress. Siobhan reviewed the security footage of Zexthul's awkward attempt at humor. 3 months ago he was going to sterilize our planet. Now he's struggling with poultry-based humor. She shook her head in amazement. If that's not progress for interspecies relations, I don't know what is. Behind her office window, a Krax cruiser peacefully glided past the Empire State Building, its formerly weapon-covered hull now adorned with twinkling lights and a bumper sticker that read, "Honk if you've recently developed a sense of humor." The long-range detection system, a hybrid of Krax technology and human innovation, activated at 3:42 a.m. Deep in the combined Earth-Krax Defense Headquarters, analysts confirmed what had long been feared. The Void Collective had found them. Probe. Footage revealed the nature of their enemy. Vast organic mechanical vessels that resembled neural networks made physical, pulsing with a sickly light that seemed to consume rather than emit illumination. The collective absorbed civilizations not through conventional warfare, but through neural synchronization, erasing individual consciousness and adding it to their unified mind. "They'll reach our solar system in 9 days, Krizit announced to the Emergency Council. General Williams outlined conventional defense options, none promising. Dr. Vasquez suggested evacuation protocols, knowing they were insufficient. Then Siobhan Kelly, now Earth's ambassador to the Krax, spoke up. "We're approaching this wrong," she said. "We keep thinking of humor as our secret weapon. It's not. It's our shield." 7 days later, as the Void Collective approached Neptune's orbit, they encountered something unprecedented, a psychological defense system known as the Laughter Vanguard. The joint human Krax fleet didn't engage with conventional weapons. Instead, they broadcast carefully designed cognitive disruption comedy, absurdist humor specifically calibrated to destabilize hive-mind neural networks. Years of research into how humor had affected Krax neurology had produced unexpected insights. Laughter created patterns of unpredictable neural firing that resisted synchronization. The parts of the brain that processed humor were precisely the regions most resistant to the Void's absorption techniques. As the nightmarish vessels approached, they encountered not just military defenses, but a bombardment of synthesized unpredictability, jokes, with non-sequitur punchlines, paradoxical wordplay, and recursive humor loops that created cascading cognitive failures throughout the collective. In the command center, Siobhan and Krizit monitored the Void's response. Initial data showed confusion in the collective, portions of their unified consciousness fragmenting as individual thought patterns emerged. "It's working," Dr. Vasquez confirmed, watching neural pattern displays. "Their synchronization is failing. In sections exposed to the broadcast, the battle above Earth's atmosphere wasn't fought with kinetic weapons, but with cognitive disruptors, mimetic warheads, that contained concentrated packages of humor specifically designed to fracture hive mind cohesion." For 3 days, the Void Collective struggled to maintain unity in the face of this unprecedented defense. Then, remarkably, portions of the collective began to separate, individual ships breaking formation as discrete consciousness emerged within the hive mind. The fragmented collective retreated beyond Saturn, neural synchronization fatally compromised. 6 months later, a partially rehabilitated Zexthul addressed the United Nations. His exoskeleton had been modified to allow more expressive movement, and his voice modulator now accommodated a wider range of emotional harmonics. In 11,000 cycles of Crack's history, we faced extinction 3 times, he admitted. Each time we responded by becoming more rigid, more hierarchical, eliminating all individualism. We believed absolute order was the only defense against chaos. He gestured toward Siobhan and Krizit, now recognized as the founders of interspecies. Comedy theory. In 72 hours you proved us wrong with weapons we couldn't comprehend. Jokes. The former Supreme War Commander paused, then attempted what his therapy team considered a significant breakthrough. Humor. What do you call an alien who orders global surrender and receives memes instead? He waited a perfect beat. Unemployed. The laughter that filled the United Nations chamber was genuine, partly from the unexpected punchline, but mostly from the miracle of seeing this once terrifying conqueror attempt a self-deprecating joke. Outside, beyond Earth's atmosphere, the combined human Crack's defense fleet patrolled. Their ships no longer bristled with traditional weapons but housed the most powerful defense system ever deployed. The ability to laugh in the face of extinction, to find absurdity and horror, to remain defiantly individual in the face of forced conformity. The newly liberated fragments of the Void Collective were learning this power too, one joke at a time.